So what we'll start with is I'm going to go over I'll go over the Ludington recap, and we'll talk current fishing, and I'll go over the Salmon and Rama recap. Probably gotta get in here a little more, Nate. We're gonna have to get snuggly. Yeah. Can you guys hear me? Let me know if you guys can hear on the live feed here. We'll let some people get on. There's some people jumping on now. Oh, good, good. Trying it on the phone again tonight, so we'll see. It seemed like last week when I was live out on the water, everybody seemed to like the phone better. So obviously, if that's working better, then that's what we'll use. Quite a few people jumping on. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button. That helps the channel, helps this particular live video circulate. That'd be great if you could do that. I'm going to answer that right now. Alright, we'll continue to let some people get on here. Looks like we're starting to get a bunch on, which is good. How's everybody doing today? Again, make sure you pound that thumbs up button. We got a bunch of people hitting that. That's good. Getting a bunch of people on now. So we got 3 topics for tonight. We are going to talk Ludington Offshore Challenge recap. We're going to talk Salmon Rama recap, and we're going to talk current fishing report. All 3 of those things I think are going to be a lot of fun to talk about and should be good. Looking forward to that. So we'll get started. I think at this point there's quite a few people on, and you know, more will join as they go. Again, don't be afraid to hit that thumbs up button. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, Russell's Fishing Tech, it would be great if you'd subscribe. We could use all the subscribers we can get. Helps the channel, helps you know, all these people learn, and we got, you know, many more videos and things coming. So I'm going to start with the Ludington Offshore Challenge recap. So I headed over last Wednesday afternoon. Actually grabbed Lily. It was a late decision. Lily was fishing with Jackson in the morning, and then I grabbed Lily. They got a 30-pounder that morning, or 31.86 pound king last Wednesday morning here out of Sheboygan. I grabbed Lily. We hitched a ride to Manitowoc. We jumped on the car ferry, and we went across to Ludington. We met my buddy Scott over in Ludington with the rocks and reels, and we prepared to go out Thursday morning. The plan was to pre-fish Thursday and Friday while we were participating in the 2 tournaments that were going on Thursday, Friday, the ladies and kids on Friday, and I think they call it the Great Lakes Deer event now on Thursday. It used to be the Ruboy. And so Thursday we headed out, and we knew that there was a big north wind on Wednesday, and I knew that the water was going to be very changed. It was probably going to be very cold. What I didn't know is how cold. So we headed to Big Point Sabo. We put the probe down, and it was not good. Matter of fact, I even started to put the rods in, which was a big mistake. I try to teach you guys a lot of things on this channel and in my salmon schools and that, and sometimes I need to remind myself to listen to myself and what I'm telling you guys. I made a critical error on Thursday that I shouldn't have made because I didn't listen to myself or trust my instincts. We put the rods in and actually got all the way completely set up with, you know, all of our lines out, and realized that it was 39 degrees down 41 feet on the point. That was obviously no bueno. They were not going to be there, and we were not going to catch fish there. That was way too cold. So I knew I needed to be on the north side of the point. So we picked up our line and started heading north, and realized very quickly that as we were getting further and further and further north, the water was warming up. So we ended up settling on about the 12 line, which is like 3 miles south of Manistee, and set up there. And actually, while we were putting our lines in the water, we popped an adult salmon. I think it was like a 17 or 18 pounder on a pump handle on a Mountain Dew stud. And we ended up fishing that area the entire day, and we caught one more adult salmon and missed one. So we had 3 bites for that particular pre-fish period, which was not very good, but they were the right kind of bites. Both of them were like an 18 and a 17 pound king. They both came on illumination UV flies, and one was on a Megatron, chrome Megatron flasher, and the other was on a Mountain Dew stud. So that night I talked it over with Scott, and we knew we had to lake trout fish at some point on Friday, as we knew that was going to probably be a big part of our Ludington Offshore Challenge game plan. So Friday morning we went back to that 12 line, and the plan was to troll from there north up to Manistee, and hopefully get into some kings, and then at some point pull the plug and go lake trout fishing. And we had a tough morning. We were 0 for 1, I think, at about 8:30. We had one bite. It was the right bite. It was a big king on a pump handle again, a 10-ounce pump, and it was on a Lako stud, which is basically a black, stud. That bite actually broke us off. It was on Lily's side. She had picked that bait out, and it ripped the holder so hard I thought it was actually going to bend the rod holder on the tree. And then started screaming line out, and right as I grabbed it, it jerked forward, and I knew right away that it broke us off to some point, because anytime you have a fish hit that hard and the rod jerks forward, it didn't just come off. It actually broke off. So we broke the hook off. We got the fly and the beads back, but the line was kind of messed up, and it broke the hook off. So we ended up going lake trout fishing at that point. We fished lake trout for about 2 hours, caught 1 lake trout, or 2, whatever it was. Not very many, which was very alarming. So I was a little nervous going into the tournament. Didn't feel like we had a real great game plan, but knew that lake trout were a big part of our plan, and that we had to catch 9 of those, and then probably go out deep and fish for silverfish. So day 1 of the tournament, we ran up to the trout grounds, and not having a real good game plan on exactly where the trout were or what we were going to catch them on. The program was a set of cowbells on the middle downrigger, antifreeze cowbells, and then wire divers with dodgers and spinning glows, and then coppers with spinning glows on them. And we were able to catch our 9 lake trout on day 1, but unfortunately it took us basically the entire fishing period. We ended up trolling out and fishing silverfish for about 20 minutes. So it took us till 12:10 or whatever it was to catch our 9 lake trout, which was way too long. I felt like, from what I had gathered in intel on Friday night, the lake trout bite was really early, which was odd. I haven't run into that very often in my life. Usually lake trout, if they're around and they're biting, they'll bite throughout the day. But it was odd because they were basically biting right away in the morning, and they were progressively shutting down, and by 9-10 o'clock it got brutal. I think we were at 7 at 8:15, and it took us till 12:20 to get our last 2.
Wow.
So we went a long period there without any, and that was tough. The cowbell the first day was really, really hot. I think out of the 9 we caught 6 or 7 on the cowbell. We caught 1 on a board and either 1 or 2 on a diver with a dodger. So as you can imagine, I went back to the dock, and I think we were in 13th or 14th place after day 1 with only 9 fish. What did we learn at the weigh-in? We learned a lot of guys weighed a lot of small fish. A lot of people fished what I call shakers. They were 15, 18-inch small salmon, small steelhead, whatever the case may be, to try to catch their 12. That's the points game. I'm going to be honest, I'm not a fan of it. I'm not picking on it, and I'm not picking on any of the anglers. That's the rules, so you play by the rules that are there. I'm not a fan of purposely, intentionally trying to catch and kill, very, very small fish. So it wasn't something I'm really a fan of, but I understand that it's part of the game, and we knew that from what we had heard, out of the boats that got their 12, a decent chunk of those had, a fair amount of those small fish involved, and that's just part of the deal. So my game plan on day 2 was, we need to catch 9 lake trout, and we need to catch them faster. So what do you think? Hit in the comments here. What do you think my adjustment was going to be? I just told you how day 1 went. What was going to be my adjustment to try to catch those lake trout faster on day 2? What do you think the adjustment would be? I don't think I've told you any of this, so what do you think it would be?
You did tell me that. So
okay, so then don't say it. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
What do you think the adjustment would be?
Well, you said they're shutting down early, so I don't know. You probably have to start targeting them right away.
Well, we did target them right away. We went right there. If I didn't say that before, I guess, we went right there. So obviously we can't leave the tournament until 6 o'clock. It was actually an hour, and nowhere to get there. So we got there at 7, and I made one major adjustment.
I don't know if you slow down your speed, put out more.
I did what a lot of the comments are already saying, which is more cowbell. And what we ended up doing was we put 3 cowbells on the riggers instead of the 1, right? And I was 50-50 on it. My opinion was it either was going to be hot and heavy, and we were going to get our 9 fast, or it was probably going to shut it down and not be good at all. And unfortunately, it was the second part. We got a bite before we got all the rods in. We got a bite on the middle downrigger on the antifreeze cowbells. I grabbed that one, handed them to Lily. As I turned around, her boom was pounding with a Wonder Bread cowbell. I went to trip that one off, and it was gone. We caught the one on the center, and then went almost 40 minutes without a bite. Then the next two fish came on the divers, on each one of the divers with the Dodgers. So I told myself that the 3 riggers, in my opinion, was probably too much. So what we ended up doing was we ended up pulling the 2 booms out of the water, and we fished the 2 divers, the rigger, and the 2 coppers, the original game plan. And we quickly got to 7, real quickly. And what we figured out was that lesson number 2 that I teach you guys in my salmon schools especially, and I say this all the time, so I made 2 critical errors this week at the Ludington Offshore Challenge, and I'm learning from it yet, and I hope you do too. Mistake number one, was, I already told you, I always say that you should put your probe down before you put your rods in the water and decide if it's the right place to fish. I made that mistake pre-fishing. Mistake number 2 is I tell everybody when I'm teaching them, don't put all your eggs in one basket. You have to sort of hit the reset switch on what happened yesterday and go there with a free mind. I didn't. I put all my eggs in the cowbell basket, and it was a big mistake. I believe if I'd have went there with just the center rigger, the 2 Dodgers, and the boards, we would have had a much better chance of getting our 9. We got to 7 by about 9:15. Unfortunately, we never had another bite. So we take that back. Actually, we might have got to, I think we got to 6 by 9:15. We missed 2 and got 1 at like about 10 o'clock. But by 10 o'clock, we had 7, and we ended up with 7. So we ended up in 13th or 14th place overall, which wasn't terrible in the pro division. I haven't fished there in 4 or 5 years, so not much changed. But obviously, there's always a little bit of change from year to year. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to the 3rd week of August. I'll be back from Manistee. I think you're coming. And the end of August, I'll be in Frankfurt, and you might be coming. We don't know yet, so we're working on some of those things. But I'm looking forward for a little redemption. I'm not ashamed of how we did. I think we did okay, but I'm not happy at all. I felt like I could have did better. So that's the Ludington Offshore recap. We got to fish silverfish for 15 minutes in 2 days. Unacceptable. I have to do better. I have to make better decisions, and I didn't fish well. So it's on me. It's not Scott's fault. It's not Lily's fault. It's nobody's fault but me. I need to do a better job, and I need to be better prepared and with a better game plan. So that's where it's at.
So I got one question for you, I guess.
Yeah.
What goes through your mind when you are
grab me a
going
bush light.
when you are 45 minutes without a bite? Like, what are you trying to change something? Are you keeping the same baits in? Are you having, like, what is going through your mind in a tournament scenario when you haven't had a bite?
This was one of the things that. Hang on, we gotta regroup here, guys. See, this is your live. Shit happens live. I gotta get a bush latte here. Sorry. So one of the things that, yeah, I do drink beer. I am human, so we'll get that out of the way. One of the things that I think we made a mistake on was, again, because we didn't have enough time to pre-fish, or we didn't pre-fish the lake trail program very correctly, we didn't really have a good idea on where they were. We got bit in 80 to 85 feet, which was inside of everybody else, which is what my gut told me, because the water cooled off dramatically. Right. The fleet was in 95 to 115. Now, I think there was fish caught there, but I think a lot of those fish were caught there early. And after looking back on it, I'm not going to say any names, but there was some pretty high-profile boats there, day 1 and day 2, that did not catch them. It didn't. There were charter boats there that caught them, that fish there every day, that are really good, some of which were there earlier than I was and caught them really, really well. And there's guys that are just really, really good. They fish there every day. But the tournament boats that were there most of them didn't do very well. A lot of them fished for a little bit, caught a couple, and picked up and left. So what I'm getting at, though, is because we didn't pre-fish very, very well, or for very long there, we did a lot of this. A lot of S-curves, which I didn't like. First of all, it's not great for lake trout fishing. No. Second of all, that was because we were looking. You know, we were in 85, we were out to 115, we were in 90. Had we just stuck to our plan and pounded 80, 85, I definitely feel like, boy, Kevin is not happy right now that we're in his beer. He's not happy. Our buddy Kevin is not, he's texting us right now. He's not impressed that we're pounding his bush light right now. But at any rate, you know, that's another one of those stories where, you know, do your thing, right? Yeah. Don't worry about what all the other boats are doing around you. You know, visualize it, see what they got going on, and use that information to your advantage. But there wasn't a lot going on. I was looking around. I had Lily doing the eagle eye, and we just weren't seeing guys do a lot. So, all right. So let's get to the current fishing report. So that way we can get everybody involved. So I want to talk about that. We will start with what happened over the weekend, and we're going to leave that to Nate. Nate was out over the weekend on the fish stick with Kevin. They did really, really well here out of Sheboygan. Nate, if you want to kind of just, I think we got to move this way a little bit. If you want to kind of just recap how the weekend was, where you guys were fishing, what you were catching them on, what you were catching, I think that'd be a good way to go to start.
Sure. Yeah, so we tried, you know, Kevin came down, we were running some trips this past weekend, and we ran anywhere from a few miles north to a few miles south. We didn't venture too far north or south, but with the Salmon Rama that's been going on, there has been just a crazy amount of boat traffic, I'm sure, out at all ports, but here out of Sheboygan, it was just a zoo. And, you know, as far as running charters, I'm looking forward to a little less boat traffic coming up in the next week after this, but a lot of boats were really pounding the inside water under 100 feet. And there was so much traffic over that period that once it got light out, that bite was so tough. It was really hard to get bit inside of 100 feet of water, where it seemed like 90% of the boats were. So we did start there. We had, you know, maybe a little bit of time that we spent in there, but if we weren't catching them right away when we went out, we ended up sliding out a little bit deeper. And we actually found that we had some pretty good success working east and west, trying to find where those fish maybe had slid out to, that maybe with the pressure on the inside, maybe they just had moved a little bit. And when we did that, we ended up finding quite a few fish out somewhere between 100 and 130 feet of water was really good. It seemed like those fish were biting a little bit later in the morning once we got out into the deeper water. We were able to kind of stay in that area and really work that 100 and 130.
Before you continue, I want to touch on that for just a second. I noted on my one of my last videos I did how to win $35,000, and I was talking about winning these derbies, and a guy questioned today. His exact question was, "What do you do when the hot fishing area is so full of traffic you don't get any bites?" And my immediate answer was exactly what you just said. You either get outside of the traffic barely, or you get inside the traffic barely and work, the edges of the traffic. Don't get into the middle of the boat traffic. So you did exactly what that was. You realized that there was just too many boats in that area where you really wanted to be, and the fish were, and we had been working.
Yep.
But because there was so much boat traffic, you just slid to the outside.
Yep. Yeah, and it seemed to be, talking with some other people who stayed on that inside, it seemed to be the right move anyway to get out there a little bit deeper.
What was the program for you? Like types of rods and lures and stuff?
So we were running, a fairly standard program, with the water temperatures that we had out of Sheboygan, anywhere from, like a 5-color rod, even as deep as we ran like a 300 copper. We were getting bit later in the morning. We had some good luck on a 300 copper. For us, we had some good luck on various lures. I don't know if you want to show any of these at this point.
Whatever. I piled up some stuff. You show what you want.
Yeah.
To show.
So early in the morning, this past weekend, I put a couple videos out there. We did a live video and I did a recorded video. I said stay away from my secret flasher, but this particular flasher, it's got it wrapped up here, but this white two-face has been really good. It's one of my favorite flashers when we get into that low light early morning conditions. When we first go out, I love putting that out. Usually I'll run that with the illumination fly. So I have one rigged up with that. This one I'm also running with a different fly, the addiction fly here, but illumination or addiction on that has worked really well. Later also, we're getting bit on our 150 copper.
Now, is that on our 150 copper or is that on Nate's 150 copper?
My 150 copper.
So the one particularly labeled Nate's
yes,
150
Nate's
copper.
150
Okay.
copper.
All
This one was working really well. So
That's
you
illumination.
can see illumination rigged up on here.
Yep.
That worked really good.
I know you said white icon was good too. We didn't
Yes.
grab one of them, but you said white icon was
Yep,
good, which
so-
is always good.
Yeah, so
This time of year.
yeah, and then there were a couple days in particular where it seemed to there was some fog banks that rolled in that those white blades, the white icon and this white two-face really seemed to stand out and be successful even later into the morning.
Now, before we kind of hand it over to Jackson, I want to touch on something. Somebody said, can we touch on, chrome flashers now transitioning into green and whites, as I talk a lot about this time of year, and we're seeing it. We're seeing exactly what I preach happening right now, as if you'll still get bit on chrome flashers in real high sun conditions, yada, 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 but there is no doubt that the big kings are starting to get a little color to them, they're getting a little aggressive, and they're starting to, in particularly, pick out more of that gaudy stuff. Some of that gaudy stuff, without giving any of that away, would be things like a white two-face, a white icon, a Nate's Dream Scale. They don't get any gaudier than that, even though it doesn't seem super gaudy. That's just an aggressive flasher. Things like that are definitely, at the top of the list. Nick just said white Megatron. Yeah, Megatron was working. White Megatron works good. White Kryptonite, things like that. But this is your standard, Big King mid-July towards end of July program. We're starting to transition from all chrome to some chrome, some white, some green, and we're starting to change some of the flies. Illumination when it's high sun, starting to see, going lep.
Going left, yep.
Addiction, 50-50, some of those guys that we really, really like in the low light conditions and or later in the season conditions, we're starting to see that. So Mark was just asking, I'm sorry, not Mark, I apologize, Matt was asking, what is your favorite speed for flashers, Nate?
So a little faster than Russell. I always say I like to cover some ground, but I would say on average I like to start somewhere 2.2 to 2.4 at the ball, I would say. It's usually what I try to start at and then kind of see if I can let the fish tell me what they like from there.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody at this point knows I'm a 1.8 to 2.2 guy. It was probably zeroed in at like a 1.9 to 2.1 being my, key core area. What do you like, Jackson?
I like that 2.0 to 2.2.
2.0 to 2.2.
That's what I like.
Okay. So that was Nate's report from the weekend. Jackson, why don't you talk about, I think one of the cool things that you can bring to the table is you can give a current fishing report up through today in Sheboygan as well. But I think one of the things you could talk about is, you've been doing, you and Lily in particular have been doing, well, Reese has been getting them too, I don't mean it that way, but Dumper Dan one boat in particular with Jackson combined with Lily and Reese, Jackson's two young first mates. Those of you that don't know, Lily, my daughter, she's 13. She's first mating for Jackson in the mornings. And he's got a young man that's 16.
He's 16, yeah.
Reese, he's doing a nice job, chartering in the afternoons. Number one has been catching some really, really big fish.
Yeah.
Mostly when you've been on board, but even when the blind squirrel's on there. There's been big fish being caught. So number one's got a little wiggle going right now.
Got a little wiggle.
I feel like that wiggle was maybe there from about 20 years ago when I was on that.
Probably, yeah. It's got a little rustle.
There might be a little wiggle left on there from when I was on there. But why don't you talk a little bit about what's been working for you? And in particularly, you got two up top here.
Yeah.
I'd really like you to hit home and really help these guys understand something that I told them prior to these derbies was going to happen. And right when we talked about it, it happened.
Oh, for sure. So I've been using a lot of 8-inch flashers, 10-inch flashers. I've been experimenting with 12-inch flashers. I haven't really gotten any bites on the 12-inch. Nate's Dream Scale on a pump, 81 with an 8-ounce. Nate loves it.
Illumination fly.
Illumination fly.
Yep.
This is Green Knight with a Novocaine fly. It's been really good on the center rigger or on 200 copper. I Blue Stud with a illumination fly. That's another one with a 150 or a 200 copper. And then I know Connor Bowen, he really loves that UV Dragon with he's using the Vision fly, right?
So here in Sheboygan, I believe he caught his big one on the UV Dragon with a Brad's 21.
Okay.
But when he went up to, by the way, congratulations to Connor Bowen. He's become a friend of mine, and he's a salmon candy guru. Won the Big Five using salmon candy products in the Rama. But he caught a couple of his big ones up in Fairport on a live wire Vision combo, and Vision's something none of the three of us really use enough. We should be. But yeah, go ahead.
With a Brad's 21 fly, this has been really good on an outside wire, copper or pump. It just has been doing absolutely phenomenal for 4-year-old kings.
For you guys in Michigan, outside wire equals high wire. There's some different lingo. You got the Wisconsin lingo now. I'm gonna have to translate the Michigan guys. Outside wire means furthest on the outside. You guys in Michigan are going to call it your high wire.
Yeah.
So.
And then with the high sun conditions, that SGH has been really good on copper or any copper setup or pump setup as well. I know Russell's got Megatron right here. That one has been doing really well for early morning, stuff like that. And then something to touch on here is the 10-inch flasher. So I've been putting these on my outside wires or high wires out 101, 121, 131, and Reese was actually letting his out yesterday morning, and it took a nice 4-year-old king. I was letting out my green jeans, and this one took a nice 4-year-old king yesterday morning. It kind of targets the bigger fish, but I did catch a lake trout on here or a couple lake trout this morning as well on 10 inches. But just to have a couple in your spread, I think it maximizes your potential of catching a 4-year-old king.
So there's a captain, his name's Steve, we call him the Blind Squirrel.
Blind Squirrel, yeah.
He has been hammering giant kings on the 10-inch fish blades with the vegan rigs.
Yep. So.
And I told everybody that this 10-inch thing was going to be a player, and it was for these derbies, and it's going to continue to the rest of the year, in my opinion, including these, like the Coal Derby here in town and some of these other tournaments that I'm involved in. I think this is going to be a player. If you're not on this 10-inch program, you need to get on it.
For sure.
And it's not just a high wire thing. Jackson likes on the high wires. That's great, and they work there. It's a low wire bait, it's a rigger bait, it's a high wire bait, it can be a long copper bait. What it is, it's a little bigger profile, and it's a little more aggressive of a program. So what I feel like you get out of that deal is when you get these pre-staging kings, midsummer kings, they're changing colors a little bit. That's your signal that these fish are turning into a little more of an aggressive fish, an aggressive program. You're going to start to see more of that whip out of that 10-inch fish blade be productive.
Yep.
And I agree with you. I think we're on the cusp of seeing some of the 12-inchers even really work.
Yep.
I think in areas where the salmon fishing has been very, very good, like potentially Sturgeon Bay, Fairport, some of these places where I'm hearing like there's large numbers of large adult salmon, the 12-inch flashers are already working.
Yeah.
But here where we've had a lot of salmon around maybe, but not a ton of adults, I think the 10-inch is that perfect middleman, in my opinion, to where it's just a step up from the 8, but yet it's not a massive, a big change. So I did see a couple of questions on there. Let's hit this one first. Fly leader for 10-inch paddle.
30 inches.
30 inches, which we sell that on the Salmon Candy website, www.salmoncandyfishing.com. You can get any of this stuff you see here. This is all Salmon Candy stuff. These two guys are integral parts of what we do at Salmon Candy as far as testing, using the product, promoting the product, helping guys catch fish on the product. So you can get those leaders on there. We actually just got leaders back in, and there are 30-inch leaders on there. A couple other questions I did see that I think are important. Somebody asked, are white flashers good in cloudy conditions? Anybody that's followed me knows that I like white and green flashers later in the season, but yes, I also like white and green flashers in low light conditions. I don't care if it's cloudy, I don't care if it's foggy, I don't care if it's dark, and the sun's not up yet or the sun went down. The night before I left, we don't know any good guides, Kevin, none at all. No, I'm kidding. These two guys right here would be good guys that you could go out fishing with. The night before I left, we had mostly chrome flashers on. I went out fishing that day by myself. You remember that?
I remember
came back in and picked up Lily and Dave and Ty, and I put a white icon on, and that thing went twice right at dark on a low wire. So no doubt that it's that time of year now where you need to get them green blades out, you need to get them white blades out, and you need to definitely get yourself some 10-inch fish blades. I know somebody asked, when is there going to be more stock? There's more stock coming for the website on this next reload. There'll be more 10-inchers on there, and every reload probably for the next month will have more 10-inchers on it. Never going to be a lot. We're doing the best we can, but there's going to be 4, 5, 6, 7 colors each time that we reload the product. So that brings it to me. I want to talk about the next bite that's going on right now. We're in that transition again here, and we'll see what happens after the wind we're getting. Who's got our hog?
I see the hog.
That's our hog symbol. We love that. We love the hog. That's a little inside joke. So when Nate and I message her while we're fishing, if either one of us get a big one on and we're not on the same boat, we instantly message that hog emoji so that we know we got a hog on. But at any rate, so we're getting into what is some of my favorite fishing of the season and what I think is some of the most consistent fishing of the season, which is what I talk about late summer offshore program. Okay, and last night Sammy and I went out there with some friends. This morning Sammy and I went out there with some friends again, doing a little fun fishing, and we had an absolute blast. Last night we went 10 for 15 or 16. This morning we were 12 for 20. And it was your exact offshore mixed bag fishing. We had kings, we had Lakers, we had cohos, we had rainbows. The cohos are big, they're 5 to 8 pounders. The steelhead are big, they're 5 to 8 pounders, or what I consider nice steelhead. Lakers were smaller actually, they were like 3, 4, 5 pounds. We didn't get any nice Lakers. And the kings were your standard 2-year-old, like 5 to 9 pound kings. But here's kind of that program. And when I say offshore, I'm usually talking 250 feet and deeper. It can be 400, it can be 300, it can be 250. Right now in Sheboygan, prior to this wind that's blowing outside the boat right now, it was 250 to 300. I'm actually really disappointed. Remember that question. Hold on. I'm really disappointed because these two guys were signed up for the Powder Puff tomorrow, which is the women's tournament here in Sheboygan. They had 80 or 90 boats. I think these two guys had a really legit shot to win. I think the other guy that I would have looked out for would have been my cousin Dave, because he had Lily, which is like
that's like 50% of it right
which
there,
is like a cheat code, right? Like when you're in a ladies tournament and the ladies have to do everything, and you have Lily on the boat, that's like straight cheat code right there.
Sure,
right? It's like punching in left, right, left, up, down, left, right on Mike Tyson punch out. Right? So that's cheat code. But number two, I think you three would have been smart enough to know maximum 45 minutes on that inside water for a king, and then you got to go. Yeah. And if I was fishing it, which I wasn't planning to it, but if I would have been fishing it, I went right to 300 instantly, right there. because I felt like I could probably catch 15, and they were averaging this morning about 7 pounds. That gave you that 110 pound range. I think it'd have been a struggle for somebody to get that on the inside.
Rondo did have 6.
But he went out with 345.
That is true.
Jason Rondo, our buddy, did have five or six 4-year-olds this morning, but he had 4
before
when I was putting my rods in.
Yeah.
Before 5 o'clock, he had four of those 4-year-olds. That's also with no boat traffic.
That is
so you
true.
put 80 boats in 80 foot of water, all trying to catch a 30-pound king. I'd have been at 300.
It was funny this morning when I went out. There's literally like 3 boats that I could see on my radar. Like I'm like, where's the city at? Because I was used to the Salmon Rama traffic that we had. But yeah, it was just nice and clear, and the water was not being pressurized, I guess, or with a bunch of boats.
So I want to talk about what I found for a program. So we were fishing primarily 250 to 300 foot of water, mostly a north-south troll, although Nate yells at me if I use too much gas. So we actually were trolling from like 160. Yes, Nate, 160. We stretched the rubber band to 160.
Good.
And then we were trolling from 160 out to 300, and then north-southing it back into 260 about or so, right? I mean, but it depended. But at any rate, this is what I found. So it was a standard offshore program, maybe a little deeper than normal for me. No 3 colors went. It was 5 colors. Nate's 150 copper, 200 copper. Sammy had a couple pump handles on his side that went. Riggers were really good. Center rigger with a Magnum green jean spoon. And anybody that says that salmon candy spoons can't take a beating, listen, I've said this a million times before and I'll continue to say it. They're the thinnest spoon on the market. You're going to bend some are going to wreck. It's absolutely going to happen, and if you don't want to buy a $7 spoon and have it bend on a big king, then don't buy a salmon candy spoon. But this, honestly, Nate, in all honesty, this is a Fish Sticks Mag Green Jeans.
Yep.
How many bites do you honestly think this has had?
A lot. I mean,
north of 50, I would say for sure. This $7 or $8 spoon has had north of 50 bites. It's in absolutely perfect condition. I mean, it's been tweaked a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe a little more than a little, but it still works. And you can see the tape and the paint on it.
It's been chewed up.
This thing has been in the mouth of 25 to 30 plus fish, and has been bit 50 times.
Yep.
This on the middle downrigger, down like 71 or 81, with a slider up above it. And then the 2 booms with glow spoon standard spoons on them. Sammy had booger nose on his, which took a king right away this morning. I had Wonder Bread on mine, which took a king right away this morning. Those right away offshore in the dark or first light were good. And then really after that, the sliders is what was working. And I want to talk about that for a second. What is a slider? For anybody that doesn't know what a slider is basically a 6-foot piece of mono here, which I got rolled up here. It's a 6-foot piece of 20-pound mono, and we have a snap swivel on each end, a ball bearing snap swivel. I got a big one on the end that we just snap onto the line, clip onto the line, and then a small one on the end of the spoon. And Sammy was getting bites on a gold orange stud salmon candy spoon, which I forgot to grab. I was getting bites on my boom on a gold confusion. That was really, really good. And then on the center rigger, we had an gold orange night standard spoon. So we were running 3 spoons on the 3 riggers with 3 sliders on them. And that was working for us. Mm-hmm. And you love them sliders, Nate. I know that. Definitely love them sliders. Kevin is texting.
Kevin is reminding us.
Kevin is watching the live right now. Kevin, Nate, you should probably get everybody a new beer. Kevin is not happy about the beer we're drinking. So what is the difference between a slider and a stacker? I think that's important. And I have a video on YouTube on this if you want to check it out. But basically what it means is a slider means we just clip the swivel onto the line, and a lot of people call it a free slider, meaning this bait slides up and down the line. I like that a lot this time of year offshore because I think cohos and rainbows, which are a big chunk of that catch out there, they love that aggressive sliding up and down and wiggling around.
So it does slide up and down the line.
Absolutely. As you hit waves and stuff like that, that thing's going to move up and down the line as that ball sucks up and down as well. A stacker, on the other hand, would be where you clip this swivel onto the line through like a rubber band, and now it'll stay put like maybe 10 or 15 feet above your other lure is very common. So we were running these riggers like 50 to 75 feet behind the ball, and we were running them 71 or 81, 71, 61. So that was the three depths of the downriggers, 81, 71, 61, and then we were running the free sliders on them, which go down about halfway. And those were really working well yesterday afternoon. We caught some fish on them this morning. Flashers were actually better this morning. Spoons were better yesterday afternoon. On my 5 color this morning and yesterday afternoon, I had orange jeans, gold. This thing was hot. Mm-hmm. Actually, I think it's a Nate's 5 color.
Yeah.
This thing was hot on my side on Nate's 5 color. And that's a gold orange jeans. That sucker was,
that one's been good this year.
That sucker was hot. Another spoon that, I mean, I don't know. I personally know that, and I haven't fished on this boat a lot, but I've caught 7-8 fish on this spoon this year. I don't know how many you think.
Earlier in the season, for sure, we've on it as a slider. We caught a ton of fish on that.
I mean, maybe another 10 dozen, something like that. So this spoon's caught 20 plus fish, and it seems to be just fine.
Yep.
And I'm only making the comment because I've definitely seen, you know, quite a few comments on Facebook of people, and I think it's just really more about people having unrealistic expectations of what you're buying.
For sure.
You're buying a $7 or $8 spoon that is the lightest, thinnest spoon on the market. So you're going to get the advantages of the lightest, thinnest spoon on the market, but you're going to get the disadvantages of the lightest, thinnest spoon on the market. And that's just part of the deal.
Because then you control Russell's speed.
That's right. Yep. So you can control that 1/8 to 2/1 and still get it to turn over.
Yep.
Sammy had Megatron on his 5 color, and that was good this morning. That took a couple nice fish. I think it took a steelhead. It might have took a king, but that was a good spoon. Not like our buddies over in Michigan. I'm not going to start chucking these across the deck on their live fishing reports like they do and throw them across. Because, you know, we are trying to preserve our spoons here. But all joking aside, that was sort of the spoon program. I think there's a bunch more that'll work. You know, like I said, orange stud, orange night, orange jeans, confusion, UV two-face, but a lot of gold spoons on that upper column. And then I think if you're going to head out deep and you want a little bit of that king action, especially right away in the morning, don't be nice. Yes, Jeff, I'm being nice to Adam. I'm just teasing. I think getting a couple of these glow spoons down, you know, in that 60, 70, 80 range right away in the morning, I think that'll really help you maybe grab 1 or 2 of those quick kings. That's why I said I would have went out to 300 right away, because I would have tried to get a couple of those quick kings on some of those glow spoons. And seeing what happens. So now there was some flashers that were working as well, and it was really, if you go back to one of my videos that I did this winter that said, I think, not your grandfather's steelhead anymore, and I talked about how when I was a kid and I fished with Dumper Dan a lot, we pretty much fished orange spoons on every rod in the top 15 feet of the column when we went steelhead fishing.
How deep were you going back then?
200 to 400 feet of water, same area, okay. But it was before your time. You weren't alive yet.
No, I wasn't
just
even
barely alive, maybe, but I don't think so. It'd be way before you were fishing. I'm talking early to mid 90s when I started fishing with Dumper Dan as a first mate. We did a lot of orange spoons on, you know, dipsy divers up high, but a lot of, you know, planer boards with small inline weights and stuff like that. Back then we used either rubber core weights or actually Dumper like the sliding egg sinkers. The game has changed. We're using a lot of flashers now, and we're catching a lot of fish on them because we're not just catching steelhead. And what I talk about out there is a lot of chrome and blue, and I saw that again today. Some of the standouts today again were Megatron, as it usually is, was a standout. This particular one has a Novocaine fly on it. This is one from your assortment here on the fish stick boat.
The hot box.
The hot box, yep. I'd have had illumination on it, but it's got Novocaine, so I'm fishing what's available. This was good on a, what rod did I have? Oh, I had it on a high diver this morning, out 71. That went out a couple times, and I didn't put that out till late, and it went a couple times. Blue stud is good on a low diver, out 71. I also had one of the new test flashers on a low diver, out 71. That was really good. So we'll see how that continues to progress. This one's got a illumination on it. Probably the best flasher today was probably Chrome's Patent Pounder. This took a salmon, a king, took a couple of cohos and a steelhead. It's got a Novocaine fly on it. This was on a 200 popper. This was really good today. Didn't take anything yesterday. Actually, I didn't have it on yesterday. I take that back. I put this out this morning. I did not have this on yesterday. I had Mountain Dew stud on my 200 yesterday, and it didn't go, which was a surprise to me.
Yeah.
But then the overall best flasher for me the last 2 days, believe it or not, it don't matter, guys. It doesn't matter. Lake Ontario, Lake Michigan, Sly's Tavern. You better have Songin's Bam. Either chrome or green, Jackson.
Yeah.
I don't care. Right now it's chrome, but this thing is just insane. I mean, it really is. I mean, this is the flasher right now. Songin's Chrome Bam, Songin's Green Bam on Lake Ontario. It is crazy how many guys are catching fish on these and how many we're selling. It's the most copied flasher in the last couple of weeks. I mean, there's been 4 or 5 new companies that I've seen struck up and copied it. And like my new tagline is on everything: innovate over duplicate.
Right.
We're not going to duplicate stuff here at Salmon Candy. We're trying to innovate. We're not going to worry about what anybody else is doing. We're going to do our thing. And this thing is hot right now. This was my best flasher over the last 2 days. It's got an illumination fly on it. And it's been dang good. And I can tell you guys right now, I'm super fired up. There's a couple more Songin's Bams in the works for 2023. It's all let out right now, but I'm going to tell you there's a couple more Songin's Bams, different varieties, variations, but there's a couple more Songin's Bams coming in 2023. And this thing's so tight to the chest, you don't even know about it yet, Nate.
Nope.
So when I bring the new Songin's Bams, the new versions,
You're holding out on me.
they'll probably be in a paper bag, and you have to close your eyes when I put them out.
Put a mask over me so you get it out.
Yeah. So all joking aside, though, this was the best flasher the last 2 days on Nate's 150 copper.
I'm surprised you could get that off. It was welded
that thing
on there.
was welded at 150. I had to chisel that thing away to get it off there, but no, it's been a lot of fun tonight. We've had fun. It's nice to get some of the guys on. We've had a blow day today. We kind of talked about it before. There is a big southeast wind blowing right now. I don't know what that's going to do for sure. You can almost bet it's going to cool the water off. It could wreck the outside fishing. It could wreck the inside fishing. If I had to bet, it's going to wreck the inside fishing, and the offshore fishing is going to get better. That's honestly my opinion. But that's just my thought. I think that's probably how this will play out. Will be that inside king fishing is going to get really tough. The outside deep fishing is going to get better, as I think that water will probably stabilize and be about the same. But the inside water is going to probably go ice.
Yeah.
That would be what I would think. So we're showing some record numbers, guys. I really appreciate it tonight. We're at like 190 people. It's awesome. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed to the channel. Make sure you hit the thumbs up on this video so it gets spread out a little bit. Last but not least, I want to talk a little bit about sort of a wrap up on Salmon and Rama. What happened? What did we see? Well, I called it, guys. It was like exactly like the live I gave you a couple weeks ago. What I told you was going to happen happened. I have to brag slightly, and I don't brag ever really, but I said it. I sat right live and I said the north wind's coming, the water's going to warm, the kings are going to bite, and it is going to happen. And that's exactly what happened. King fishing got better everywhere, and everywhere up and down the Wisconsin shoreline, and the water definitely warmed up, and fishing really picked up. Again, congratulations to all the anglers that won prizes. I've been getting a bunch of texts, a bunch of pictures, and I'm really proud of all you guys were taking 5th place, 8th place, 4th place, whatever it was, overall in this category, that category, using Salmon Candy products. I know that in the Big 5, there were multiple boats in the top 10 that were using Salmon Candy products, and there was even some of them guys using the duplicated products that are basically Salmon Candy products inside that top 10. But we're really proud of Connor Bowen. Also proud of Kill Shark Week, who I think was in 3rd. That's a friend of mine, Matt, and his buddies, Chris, and them. They were using a bunch of our stuff, I know, as well. Just really great fishermen, having a really good time. We're in the dead middle of KD right now. Tomorrow, I think, is the halfway point for KD. You used to really fish KD. You enjoyed that.
Yep.
Fishing up north is really hot right now. Sturgeon Bay's good. Bailey's Harbor's good. We'll see if this south wind wrecks that. I hope it doesn't for the guys. But I do think that king fishing will hopefully remain good.
What did they say? 200 kings over 20 have been caught so far in the Katy?
As of yesterday. That doesn't even count today. Yeah, over 200 kings, over 200 kings, over 20 pounds already registered in the KD event. pretty amazing stuff. I know the second place king right now is on the Salmon Candy Flasher. I know that. I don't know about the first place one. I think I saw that was on a Moonshine Spoon. But, you know, really when you think about it, there's a lot of Salmon Candy Flashers and stuff out there. But in comparison to the amount of Moonshine Spoons, Dreamweaver Spin Doctors, things like that, I'm proud to say that, you know, we've got guys having a lot of success on our stuff in both fun fishing and tournaments, because it's still a small percentage and a small group and community of us that are using the stuff. And that'll just continue to grow as we grow along here, which is really fun. So I think
there was one more comment with the August fly.
Yeah.
Fly.
What was the question?
It was, what's your best August fly? I think
Okay.
somebody, or I think in the same comment there was glowing leopard.
Yeah. What's your favorite August fly?
I'm an illumination fly guy. I mean,
No matter what.
No matter what. Yeah.
Okay. So you're just illumination all day, every day,
Pretty
no matter
much,
what.
yeah.
Okay.
That's
Nate, what do you like?
I like illumination. I really actually like this addiction when you know, especially for those early morning kings. I think those frog legs in there really are.
The glowing leprechaun is actually pretty good.
I think one that you don't talk about enough, but I know you like because you grab it when you grab your favorite, probably August Flasher, is Milwaukee Minnow.
Yes.
You
Yes,
don't
actually.
mention it as much, but I know you have a tendency to grab that.
You're right.
There's Matt Smith, by the way, one of my buddies who was third place, I believe, in Big Five. He said Mercy and No Mercy were good for him, so that's great.
No, you're right.
But
actually.
Milwaukee Minnow is
We just caught a
one of your
really nice
favorites.
king the other day. We were running that and Milwaukee Minnow, and I know on the Nate Stream scale, I like to run the Milwaukee Minnow with that too.
So I would say my all-time favorite August fly would probably be Addiction.
Really?
All time. Because basically, you know, this fly was one of our originals and is a very, very good fly. Of more recent years, I would say it absolutely would be Glowing Lep.
Yep.
And I'm super excited that in 2023 we're going to have, you know, a new fly that's going to be a variant of Glowing Lep coming out that has been a rock star.
Yeah, that thing's been hot.
Yeah, to say the least. So it's going to be one of our new favorite July and August flies, no doubt about it. Matter of fact, I saw you had it tied on something today. Sammy had it on his wire, and that went like 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't even know he had it on until we netted the fish, and I grabbed it out because we had a double or a triple on, and I grabbed it out, and I realized
You grabbed
it was
the
on
fish?
there,
You
so
touched
I did.
one?
I grabbed
Wow.
the fish. I usually grab rods, but I actually did grab a fish out. Yeah, at one point, Sammy was cleaning, and then we hit a triple, and I actually was netting, grabbing fish, doing all kinds of weird things I normally don't do when I'm with you guys. So that was a ton of fun. But so I would say probably my more recent years, I would say it would be Glowing Lep. All-time favorite, probably Addiction. But there are a couple other in there that I think you really should have. Doughboy would be one of them that I think has been a long-standing one. If the sun is out, you should have illumination out no matter what.
For sure.
Absolutely no matter what. And one of the flies I don't think we talk about enough that we haven't used enough is Vanilla Ice.
Mm-hmm.
That all white
I
pattern
don't even think I own one.
definitely works later in the year. And then the other one that I put out, I kind of started that for our little group here the other day. That's a great August fly, and again, I just don't fish it enough, is Brad's 21, which is basically Doughboy with a little bit of green in it. So it's a great fly, a great warm water fly, so later in the year fly, and it's really been a stud for us. So any questions that anybody may have for Jackson, Nate, or I, if it's specific for one of us, put it in the comments here. We can take a couple minutes here. And Thomas says Russ just throws money at the rods. Yeah, I'm notorious for bringing a pocket full of change and throwing them at the rods. Tom knows that, so no doubt about it. But if you have a question for any of the three of us specifically, put it in the comments. Now's a good time. Kevin mentioned Lucky Charm, White Blade Lucky Charm. That's one of my favorite all-time August flashes. Right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Why are you shaking your head?
I'm just crying because we snapped
Oh,
a good one off.
Stephen Reese snapped mine off
What
this
size
weekend too.
dipsy does Jackson use on his high diver, and what color?
I like black.
And it's a mag diver.
It's a mag. Yep. It's the same as the inside diver, but you just put it on a different setting, so like a 3 setting.
So a mag black diver,
124.
124
Dream.
on a 4.
3 or 4, yeah.
Was it a 3 or a 4?
3. I do
Okay.
3s.
Tom asked what favorite glow spoon.
I don't know. I like that. Like this. This is a little glow in it here.
Yeah, it's a glow.
The
Yeah,
green.
so you like the glow green jeans.
I like the green jeans a lot.
What's your favorite, Jackson? Booger nose?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I gotta say, my favorite all time probably is UV Wonder Bread.
Yeah.
But all 3 of those are really, really good. Hard to get away with any of those. Yes, Robert. Mags on the highs and lows. Travis asked, wire divers prefer slide or regular, and what are the lead lengths? Go ahead with that.
For the slide. Sorry, say that again.
Wire divers, do you prefer slide divers or regular divers, and what are your lead lengths?
So we've been using regular divers, the regular mag divers or whatever on there, and then because we have a bigger boat, we're able to handle a little bit longer leader in a lot of cases, but we're running anywhere from 17 feet, somewhere in there, I would say. More than 15 feet for sure, and then usually hand lining the last 10, 15 feet of it.
Mine are always the same basically, which is 3 wingspans, which I'm assuming because I'm about 6 foot tall is about 18 feet, give or take a little bit. I like to do things that I can duplicate without getting a ruler out.
Yep.
I was one of the ones that started the 3 times the length of the flasher thing 20 some years ago, and I still to this day tie that, and it gets me in trouble once in a while when I substitute for somebody at
Yep.
Salmon Candy because we sell 24-inch lat leaders, and I tie mine and they're like maybe a 24 1/4 or
Yep.
something like that, and truthfully I don't think it makes a big difference, but I'm just used to all these years. Read this one, Jackson, so you can answer that next. All these years, I love to do things on the boat that I can duplicate without a ruler. So I just, I like to do, lengths, or from here to here, or here to here, type of thing. So for me, it's always been 3 times. Did you catch that one?
I didn't catch
I got
that
an
one.
answer for
Okay,
that.
so that was Bob Anderson. Go ahead.
So I think the question was braid divers versus wire divers. So
Ooh, that'd be a good one for Dave.
okay. So on the fish stick boat here, we typically are running 4 wire divers, and I would say for what I notice, most days the wire will outproduce the braid, for me anyway. But then it does seem like there's once in a while, I don't know if they want just a little stealthier presentation or something. They don't want the wire, but
Maybe they don't want that wire humming.
that's
in the
not
water.
something. It's just if they're just the mood of the fish or something where a braid can be more effective than the wire.
Yeah.
But we're running wires almost all the time.
I run 4 wires
Yeah.
all the time.
So somebody asked if I ran any spin doctors and flies on the Michigan side. And I'm going to tell you how I feel about this so that everybody's on the same page. Jackson's laughing because he already knows. Nate's already about to have a panic attack and run out of the boat because he knows what's coming on this whole deal. So I am a extreme advocate of actually doing what you say you're going to do to the best of your ability. What I mean by that is, if you're teaching people to do something, then you should be doing it, right?
Yep.
So I only use Salmon Candy products 99.99999% of the time. Now, in both of these guys' defense, Nate owned some tackle prior to me, operating Salmon Candy, and that he had bought from Anglers Avenue or whatever. Nothing wrong with that. Jackson owned tackle prior to Salmon Candy, yada yada. So they run some of that, which is not okay, but okay. For Nate especially, it's not okay. Just because I like to pick on Nate. But long story short, I don't even own any spin doctors anymore. I got rid of them all. It's not that I don't think spin doctors work. I actually have a theory on why they work better in Michigan than Wisconsin and when and why they work. I do think they work, and I think the shape works and yada yada yada. We don't make it. I don't use it. That's just the way it is. And it's not that if we make a spin doctor at some point or something similar to that shape, I will use it when I think it's the right time and place for it.
I've been doing that a lot now. Like I have a Pro King box or the Singer box. I don't even touch it.
Yeah.
I just strictly run Salmon Candy because it's like a buddy's business. So you want to support your buddy.
Well, yeah, and
it catches fish.
Well, it's part of that, but we also here as a team, and there's a lot more than just the 3 of us.
Yeah,
there's,
for sure.
There's people at home working. There's the people in Minnesota at KMDA that do all the shipping and warehousing. There's a lot of people that rely on everybody to do that. to help and run this business. But more importantly, I'm not going to get on here live and tell you to run a white two-face,
Stinger flasher.
salmon candy flasher, and then go out there and have a spin doctor on my run.
Right.
Yep.
Just not going to do it. It's not the right thing to do, and
Right.
it's not what I promote and what I talk about. So again, if we make some other stuff, then in the future, I would use it and talk about
Yeah,
it. But
for sure.
I'm sure that guys that did really, really well in the Michigan Ludington tournament, some of them or a bunch of them used spin doctors because everybody's got them hanging on every rod over there. Dalton asked, do you think a single treble is better than a tournament rig and a treble and a single hook? Yes, I do, Dalton. I think a single treble is better. Read that one. Oops, missed it. Did you get it?
I got it.
Okay, all right. So here's why. I did test the tournament tie deal. This is just my opinion. I tested it 1 year, and what I found was most of the tournament tied rigs, you get one hook in the side of the face, like right here of the salmon, and the other one in the mouth. Anybody that's ever caught a salmon when he's hooked in the side of the face knows he does what I call the spin of death, which he looks like a MEP spinner, and when he does that, he pulls about 3 times harder than he does if he's hooked correctly in the mouth. The good news is when you get him hooked with both hooks, you don't lose him. The bad news is when you lose them, you snap them off because there's so much intensive pressure there that you break off a lot more stuff, and I didn't like it, so that's why I don't
Someone
use
asked a question, what's the best temps for kings, you think?
I think the best temp for kings, and I've said this for a long time, is exactly where they are when you're catching.
Okay.
And I know it sounds like sort of a jerk-off answer, but it's the truth. I think that people write books, they give speeches, and they tell you 42.6 to 47.1 degrees. I don't believe any of that. I've caught so many kings in my life in 60-degree water, more than most guys will ever catch in their lifetime. I've caught 60-degree water. I've caught tons of kings, hundreds, maybe 1,000 in 42-degree waters. So I don't believe there's a 4-degree temp range that you should try to focus on.
Okay.
What I believe is you have to follow the water that you've been fishing.
Yeah.
And that water moves around and can warm up with the sun, can cool off. And once you find the fish in that water, a lot of times they'll stay there until it just has an extreme change. Like, for example, on Big Point last week, when it goes from 62 down 40 to 39 down 40, shit's about to get real.
Yeah.
They move. They got fins and a tail, and they move. So what was the one that you caught here?
So I think the question was, do you have to put 1,000 feet of wire on a spool, or can you do 500 with mono backer? If you're Russell, you can probably get away with 500 feet of wire. But we run 1,000 feet.
No, you should have 1,000 feet because, on our side of the lake here in Wisconsin, I don't think we use as much of it as we think. But in Michigan, for example, when I was over there, when the water was still warm in that Manistee area, and hopefully I'm not giving away too much inside information that guys gave me, but, a prime way that they run their wires over there, just for guys here in Wisconsin that maybe follow me, was guys were saying 320 on my high, 220 on my low.
Yeah.
Well, when you're putting 320 on your high, you better not have 500 feet of wire.
Yeah.
Right.
Because he's going to have you down to the backer in no time.
Yeah.
One bite, you're instantly down to the backer. So yeah, you need 1,000 feet of wire on there. The speed that I troll, probably not as necessary as the speed Nate trolls. Nate might have 1,000 feet just peel out, slipping out of the drag at 2.4. Jesus, that's ripping. No wonder why we're going through the gas we are on this. But all joking aside, somebody asked what my theory is on spin doctors. I think spin doctors work better in warmer water. I like spin doctors when the water is 54 or above, so 54 and up. I think that's when spin doctors work better, just their shape and the way they roll in the water. It seems like they work better when the water is warmer, and that's why I also think they work better in Michigan than they do in Wisconsin.
I have a different theory. And
okay.
I don't know. You see a lot of guys, every guy in Michigan runs spin doctors. So, and I've been saying this for a long time, if everybody's running spin doctors, they're going to bite on spin doctors.
Yep.
If everybody's running 8-inch flashers, salmon candy, UV dragon, they're going to bite that specific lure. So I feel like whatever's in that water at that time, if there's a bunch of spin doctors floating in the water, they're going to bite spin doctors instead of an 8-inch, random 8-inch splash.
Yep.
I think that's my theory on it, at least.
So I do want to announce last week's winners for the drawing, the salmon candy drawing. And the 2 winners from last week's were Jeremiah John and Nick Bolrichter. Those were the 2 winners from last week. So Jeremiah John and Nick Bolrichter, make sure you send me a message on either Facebook or an email from the Russell's Fishing Tech website with your address, and I'll get you a salmon candy package. I think I saw Jimmy Kalinsky while I was doing that. Maybe just asked a question. If you got one more here, we can hit it. We are starting to get long on the time. Travis says, with your shop closed, where is a good place to buy a wire dipsy setup? There's a bunch of places around. I would suggest calling like Rob at Lake Michigan Angler. You could check with the boys down at Jelinski's in Kenosha. You could check with Roger at R&R, or otherwise Kathy up at Algoma Hardware. You know, that's a bunch of good different options for you. Josh Doki he was at Akron Marine, now he's over at Yachtworks in Kiwani. So bunch of different options.
Someone asked for their 18-foot boat. What do you recommend for wire diver lengths? And I think that we can kind of touch on the slide diver aspect. If you have an 18-foot boat, I think the slide diver would be better for you because you can have an 18-foot lead or a 25-foot lead of mono, clip the diver, and then send it. And then when you get a fish on it, then it's only 6 feet from the diver to the lure.
Absolutely. If you're on a space thing, or if you don't fish with people that know what they're doing a lot, Nate and I can handle it. You and I can handle it. You and Lily can handle it.
Yep.
We can net the fish hand over hand the line. But if you're taking your kids out, you're taking your wife out, you're taking buddies out that don't fish a lot, slide divers might be the best option for you, even on wire, because you'll be able to reel that dipsy that diver right to the tip and net that fish without having to back up very much or having to try to hand over hand any leader.
And you can get that ring kit
and
the weight
kit. Yep.
just to make it as a mag diver. It just slides up and down the line instead of...
Tom asked that question. You want to answer that in your opinion?
Yeah, I would say yes.
So the question?
Yeah, so the temp break?
The question was, are you going to set up most of your lures at the temp break?
Yes. Yeah, I would say most are going to be generally just above or just below that temp break is where I'll start.
And I would say that I start above and below the temp break when the bite is on.
Yep.
And then generally speaking, after that first rush, when the sun comes up, I'm going to probably slide most of it below the temp break quite a ways.
Yep.
So like if the break's down 50, for example, and I'm at 120, I'm going to start most of my baits from 40 to 60. But by 7 a.m., I'm going to have my baits 70 to 90 probably, or 60 to 90, something like that. I'm going to get them down in that cooler water, down in the basement, down in the ice box, whatever you want to call it, where them fish are going to go down to rest after their big feeding period. And yeah, if you are looking for some fish stick apparel, get a hold of Nate. We got lots of nice fish stick apparel. This is how it works in my life, just so you guys know. Jackson gets all the hot test salmon candy baits. Nate's got the hot fish stick apparel, and I'm wearing a Hanes white t-shirt. So if you guys haven't figured that out, and a rubbed off build salmon candy hat.
Yeah, what kind of shorts you got on?
First time I've had shorts out of 3 years, and my legs are so white I can't put it on camera because you get shine off of them. I got that fancy Hanes white t-shirt going. We got hot fish stick apparel, showed off by our model here, Nate Cook. And if you're looking for the hottest, newest, greatest salmon candy custom stuff, probably that nobody else has, I can guarantee you'll find it on Jackson's Boat Dumper Dan 1. So that website again is www.salmoncandyfishing.com. And if you're looking for any of the fish stick apparel, you can hit up Nate on Facebook, either Nate Cook or hit up Fish Stick Fishing. And then
I think there's one. I mean, I think all 3 of us can agree, and Russell does it on a daily basis, but if anybody has any questions or anything like that, Nate would probably be more than willing to answer questions. I'm more than willing to answer questions. Russell answers every question that he gets text message. He's get like
to the best of my ability.
Yeah,
I get over 100 a day.
Yeah, 100 at least. So
somebody asked what the Big King prediction of the year is. That's it's so hard to guess. I mean, there's a chance of a 45-pounder out there. Obviously, I think 37, 38 is probably going to be in the range of what we're going to see in like a registered derby, where it's 100% verified. I think that 37, 38 range is probably what we're going to see for a Big King of the year.
That's what I was thinking.
I know I personally can't catch any Big Kings this year. No joking aside, like the day I went fishing by myself, I caught 6 adults and didn't have one over 17 pounds. I just can't catch a big one. Now, everything you and Lily touched lately has been big.
Pretty much.
You guys just, and maybe it's because you had the fish blade thing going a little better than me. I ran the fish blades. I caught a bunch of fish blades. But I think that, or I caught a bunch on fish blades, I meant. I didn't get the big fish, but you guys have.
Yeah, there's been one. So during the weekend, Reese and Steve, the blind squirrel, they caught one on a 10-inch Lucky Charm with a 30.
Yep.
A 30.
Yep.
A 10-inch Lucky Charm with a Doughboy vegan rig. The 31.8 that Lily and I caught on Wednesday morning, that came on Megatron with the illumination fly. And then there was that 30 that was caught with a glowing web fly on the test flasher.
Yep. No, it's been a lot of fun. Appreciate everybody. I appreciate everybody coming. This week we had record attendance, which is great. I'm hoping to get a little bit more.
30 goose.
Somebody said he was going 30 goose mid-August. Maybe I'll go along.
I might take one too.
I love the dirty goose. Me and Casey are good buddies. He's a great dude. There might even be some Lake Ontario action next week. That's definitely a possibility. I have to go back and get my car for the second time. So it's like 50-50. I'm going 8 of the 11 hours to get my car. Do I just go 3 more and go to Lake Ontario? It's almost impossible not
I should definitely take off and then we can do it together.
It seems like maybe we need to do like a 3-way trip here.
That would be hot.
Just all right there. If we're going to Lake Ontario, though, I can promise you, bam! We're going to Lake Ontario. We will have some BAMs, for sure. Green BAM, Chrome BAM, and the new secret BAMs. We'll have some of them too, but they're not secret. We'll have them out.
Yeah.
Last thing on that note, I gotta say it because it was bothering me. I posted a picture a while back on the Salmon Candy page of Jackson holding a 30-pound fish, 31-pounder, 32-pounder, whatever it was.
Yep.
I remember now, with a flasher blacked out. And I took some slack for that. Guys were like, well, why would you post, a picture of a flasher blacked out? Well, first of all, it's a special fish. You guys caught a 30-plus pounder. I was proud of you and happy for you.
For sure.
Second of all, it was on a Salmon Candy fly.
Yep.
I believe a glowing lap, which we talked about. We gave that information out. And third, we will give the information out, but we're getting copied every single day by somebody now. The last thing we need to do is put out into the public what we're coming out with next year so that they can make them before we even get a chance to make it.
Right,
so
exactly. That's
all it's about. We're just trying to, we work really hard. There's a group of us, 15 or so of us. There's a couple of New York guys, including Bob Songen, who's been, who's helped over the years. Jonathan Forder, who has, helped with innovation of some of this stuff or color suggestions, yada, yada, yada. There's like Michigan guys, Michigan side, this side, Illinois guys who have helped with development of some of this stuff. The last thing I want to do is have all of our hard work just get knocked off by somebody. Hog! I love it! Hog! Jerry Hog!
Yep.
The last thing I want to do is just give it away for free. I mean, we already, have that going on. We don't need any more of it. We don't need to just hand it out. So, yeah, we've got some exciting stuff.
Making sure that Salmon Candy sticker is on the label is very important.
Yeah. You and I were in a bait store the other day.
Yep.
I'm not going to mention it. And there was 15 or 18 colors of flashers on there in the same packaging as Salmon Candy packaging with the same name sticker, the same exact names on the same exact patterns. The only way you would know it wasn't Salmon Candy was it didn't have the Salmon Candy label, the logo, number one, and number two,
they spelled my name wrong.
It was such a copycat deal, they spelled Jackson wrong. So they didn't even know how to spell his name, which is like kind of pathetic and disgusting, but it is what it is. So, whatever. At any rate, we just keep doing what we do, and that is what it is. We had a great time tonight. I thank everybody very much for being involved. It was the longest one we've had going. We're going to do more of this, and actually what I think we might do is, I got a funny feeling we're going to have a blow day tomorrow. If these two guys are in, I think maybe we'll do something special and do a video in
Captain's Turntable.
We'll do a video for maybe best August lures or something like that. We'll get Jackson, we'll get me, we'll get Nate, and we'll put that out this week and give you guys some info on what our favorite August baits are. Maybe we'll even get a couple other guys in here, maybe another Dumper Dan guy or two, or get a few guys off the dock that have had a few bush lights and get some of their info in here.
For sure.
Thanks again. If you guys need anything, hit up the website, www.salmoncandyfishing.com. last but not least, forget to mention, coming up here quick is going to be my dates for the Russell's Fishing Tech Winter 2023 Salmon Schools. I'm going to have a bunch of schools again, probably going to be the biggest year ever, probably going to have 12, 13 of those, and yeah, be a ton of fun. Looking forward to doing those schools again and teaching you guys what I continue to learn out on this Great Lakes. So we should have a schedule and availability for you to sign up on russellsfishingtech.net. Those dates should be coming out soon, and spots will be open for you to get out. Maybe I can even talk a couple of these guys into coming to some of those Russell's Fishing Tech events and sharing some of their knowledge with you. So get signed up when you start to see those dates come out when one comes near you. This is Russell's Fishing Tech. Out.